أنا دكتور خالد وليد، ربان سفينة النجاة إلى شواطئ بكة القدس. I am Dr. Khaled Waleed, the captain of the ship of salvation to the shores of Baka, Jerusalem.
Have you ever found yourself using words like extravagance or maybe squandering?
Sure, all the time.
Yeah, maybe describing, a big purchase someone made, or even feeling like you wasted an opportunity. We use them quite a bit in everyday chat.
About money, time, potential.
Exactly. But have you ever really stopped, really paused to think about what those words truly mean? I mean, beyond just the surface definition, especially when you put them in a sort of spiritual or ethical frame.
That's a great question.
What if our usual understanding, the one we've maybe inherited over generations, is actually, limiting us? What if it's hiding something deeper, something that could really change how we approach things? Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating. It's a deep dive that honestly might challenge some things you thought you knew, but could also unlock some really profound insights.
Sounds intriguing.
Our mission today is to explore a pretty groundbreaking reinterpretation of two key Quranic concepts. We're talking about إسراف and تبذير, and we're doing this through the work of Dr. Khaled Waleed from his channel Almighty Covenant. That's Waleed. He's offering what he sees as a complete shift in how we should understand these terms. It's about seeing them, and maybe even the Quran itself, through a totally fresh lens.
And what's really captivating about Dr. Waleed's work, and we'll definitely get into the specifics, isn't just what he reinterprets, it's how he gets there.
Right, the methodology.
Exactly. He uses this really rigorous linguistic and conceptual method. It's almost like linguistic forensics, digging into the very structure of the words.
Forensics, I like that.
Yeah, and he invites us to move past what he calls Jahiliya heritage, those inherited traditions or understandings that, in his view, might have clouded the original intended meanings.
So not just accepting things because they've always been said that way.
Precisely. It's about a critical reevaluation, using sharp analysis to try and reconnect with the core message he believes is pristine within the text.
So if you're someone who enjoys those aha moments, that feeling when something just clicks into place, and if you're not afraid to maybe question some long-held ideas, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, buckle up.
Get ready, because Dr. Waleed's insights, coming straight from Almighty Covenant, they really do promise to reshape how you think about things like generosity, knowledge, even managing your own energy and resources. It's quite something.
Definitely.
So let's unpack this. Let's start by digging into the methodology itself, because that really is the foundation for everything else, isn't it?
Absolutely. You need to understand the how before the what really lands.
Dr. Waleed's groundbreaking methodology, a fresh linguistic lens.
Indeed. So Dr. Waleed, through Almighty Covenant, he puts forward this fundamental challenge, a challenge to how many religious concepts have been, traditionally understood.
Okay.
He suggests that a lot of our current understanding might be inherited, passed down from, as he puts it, generations that conveyed rather than comprehended.
Wow, okay. Conveyed rather than comprehended. That's a powerful phrase.
It is, isn't it? Think about it's just passing information along, maybe like a game of telephone over centuries.
Right, without maybe everyone in the chain truly digging into the original meaning or context.
Exactly. And he argues this process can lead to contradictory meanings born out of, perhaps ignorance, or more pointedly, adherence to what he terms the idolatry of injustice and darkness.
Idolatry of injustice and darkness. Can you unpack that a bit? What does he mean by Jahiliya heritage in this context?
Well, Jahiliya traditionally refers to the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. But Dr. Waleed seems to use it more broadly, suggesting a state of spiritual darkness or ignorance that can persist. He implies that even after the Quran's revelation, certain interpretations, maybe cultural biases, this kind of Jahiliya heritage might have crept in.
Like sediment clouding clear water.
That's a great analogy. Obscuring the pristine clarity he believes is inherent in the Quranic message. For Dr. Waleed, true understanding means getting back to that clear source, reconnecting with the light of truth preserved in the Quran, which he believes is waiting to be rediscovered through really diligent, careful study.
Okay, so how does he do that? How does he try to get past that sediment? This is where it gets really interesting, right? His method on Almighty Covenant.
It really is unique. He doesn't just, read the words as written. He listens to them deeply, to their auditory phonetics, as he calls it.
Listening to the sound.
Yes. exploring the internal relationships between words. It's like tracing a word's family tree phonetically to understand its deeper essence, its conceptual roots.
Can you give an example? Because that sounds quite abstract.
Sure. Think about English for a second, like night and night. Sound the same, totally different meanings. Dr. Waleed's approach in Arabic goes even deeper. He analyzes how subtle shifts in pronunciation, in the very consonants and vowels, might signal profound connections or even inversions in meaning.
Inversions? Wow.
Yeah, revealing layers that a simple surface reading might completely miss. He draws these compelling parallels between words that sound similar. For instance, he looks closely at pairs like Osraf, the root for Israf and Oshraf.
Okay, Osraf and Oshraf.
Or another pair, Asra, Faris, which means like a knight,
Yeah.
a horseman, and Farish, meaning one who spreads something out, like a carpet.
Faris and Farish, similar sounds.
Exactly. And Oshe, Sar, and Ushya, Sheriff, which means something like overlooking or be near. He argues this isn't just playing with words.
Right, it's not random.
No, he describes it as a systematic method, a way of approximating the meaning in an ever-increasing way. It involves trial and error, moving carefully from known concepts to these new, sometimes startling insights that really challenge our assumptions.
So it's like learning a secret linguistic code hidden within the Quran itself.
That's a good way to put it. A code that unlocks deeper wisdom from words we thought we understood completely. It's about using the sound and structure of Arabic to find its deepest layers.
Okay, that methodology sounds intense. Does he give a more concrete example of how this phonetic inversion works?
He does. And it's a really fascinating spatial analogy he uses on Almighty Covenant to make this method clearer. He starts with a known term, Masharif al-Madina.
Masharif al-Madina, what does that usually mean?
Traditionally, it's understood as the outskirts of a city. The furthest points, the periphery. The limits you might look down upon or approach from afar. It signifies distance from the center.
Okay, the edges. Got it.
But then, using his phonetic analysis, looking at the root letters, S, R, F, and their variations, he argues that the reloaded word wasa, masarif, means the exact opposite.
The opposite, so not the edge.
Not the edge at all. He argues masarif represents the 0 point, the absolute centrality, the very core, the center of the greatest circle.
Wow. So based on the sound and structure, he's completely flipping the meaning from periphery to core.
Precisely. It's a profound inversion guided by his linguistic analysis. Think of it like a target masharif is the outer ring, but masarif is the dead center, the bullseye.
That's a powerful image. Does he apply this masarif idea to specific places?
Yes, he makes it very concrete. He identifies what he calls the Mazraf of Medina, Bakka, and Jerusalem. And he says this central point, this Masraf, is the Blessed Rock and the sacred sanctuary.
So the absolute spiritual centers of these key places.
Exactly, the focal points chosen by God. And conversely, their Mushrif, the periphery, would be at the furthest extent. He gives the example of the Dead Sea relative to Jerusalem.
Okay, so it's not just geography, it's symbolic.
Absolutely. It establishes this metaphorical journey. A journey starting from the divinely appointed center, the Mazraf, and moving towards the periphery, the Mushrif. It reorients our whole understanding of what's central and what's distant, physically and spiritually. Deviation from that Mazraf, that center, implies dispersal, loss.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now. Dr. Waleed, through Almighty Covenant, isn't just redefining words. He's offering a whole new toolkit, a new way of reading and understanding the Quran's layers.
Exactly. It's like he's found a key.
It's definitely not about just accepting his word for it, though. It sounds like it demands real intellectual engagement with the text itself.
That's the core of it. Rigorous inquiry.
All right, now that we have a grasp of how he approaches these concepts, let's get into the first big one, his reinterpretation of Israf. This should be interesting.
Reinterpreting Israf. Beyond extravagance.
Okay, Israf. For most of us, myself included probably, hearing Israf immediately brings up images of, spending way too much money, lavish lifestyles, wastefulness.
Yeah, excess, going overboard with resources, food, money, maybe even time.
Right. That classic idea of extravagance. But Dr. Waleed, on Almighty Covenant, he just completely flips this, turns it right on its head.
He really does.
He says straight up that the Jahiliyyah heritage, those inherited ideas we talked about, they just got this one wrong.
Fundamentally wrong, in his view.
He argues that our common understanding misses the real, deeper meaning God intended, a meaning that's apparently much more subtle and way more spiritually significant than just, buying too many things.
Absolutely. He draws on his linguistic analysis, coming from Almighty Covenant, and contends that the people described as al-Musrifin Those who commit israf are actually the bakala.
Bakala, what does that mean?
It means the stingy ones, the misers. Or, as he vividly puts it, those with hands tied to their chests, people who just can't or won't give.
Wow. Okay, wait. So israf isn't extravagance. It's stinginess. That's the complete opposite.
It's like a radical redefinition, isn't it?
Mm.
He argues israf is precisely the withholding of charity, actively preventing your wealth from being purified through zakat.
So holding back what should be given for the community's benefit and your own spiritual cleansing.
Exactly. Zakat isn't just a tax, it's purification. Withholding it blocks that process. But Dr. Waleed goes even further.
Deeper than just money.
Yes. He stresses that israf also means withholding the knowledge of the most merciful, holding back understanding, insight, divine guidance.
Knowledge that God intended, as he put it, as prostration to his servants, meaning it should be shared freely.
Precisely. It should be honored, spread, made accessible. So israf, in Dr. Waleed's framework on Almighty Covenant, it's not just a financial blunder. It's a deep spiritual and intellectual stinginess, a failure to share both material blessings and divine light.
Hoarding light instead of spreading it.
You got it. And the opposite of this israf, he explains, is ashraf, which, using his method, means actively spreading light, upholding truth, causing good deeds and charity to flourish among people with blessings. It's proactive goodness.
That is a massive shift. It changes israf from a sin of commission, doing too much, to a sin of omission, failing to do enough, failing to give.
Exactly. A kind of spiritual negligence.
It definitely makes you think, how often might we be guilty of intellectual stinginess without even realizing it? Holding back an insight and understanding.
It's a challenging thought.
Okay, but this is such a radical departure. How does Dr. Waleed support this with the Quran itself? Does the text back up this idea of israf as withholding? He must offer some evidence from Almighty Covenant.
He does. He provides several key verses. Let's look at the first one he discusses, from Surah Sab, Coast 19.
Okay, Sabkud 19. Let's hear it.
The verse reads, "Our Lord make our journeys distant, and they wronged themselves, so we made them narratives and dispersed them completely. Indeed, in that are signs for everyone patient and grateful."
Right. Now, traditionally, this is often linked to the children of Israel, maybe wanting longer trade routes, getting greedy, forgetting God's blessings, and then being scattered.
Okay, that sounds like a kind of excess or ingratitude. How does Dr. Waleed connect this to israf as withholding? This is where his concept of central stability comes back in. Remember the Mazraf, the divine center.
That's the core point.
He argues God commanded them to adhere to this stability specifically by entering the Holy Land. That was their commanded center. But they refused. They didn't say, "Hita, relieve us of our burdens," which would have been acceptance and seeking forgiveness.
Instead, they asked God to make their journeys distant.
Exactly. They actively sought to move away from the center, to deviate from the stability God offered. Their punishment, distancing, instability, being torn apart, dispersed, humiliated.
I see. So their israf here, according to Dr. Waleed on Almighty Covenant, wasn't spending too much on travel.
No. It was withholding their obedience, rejecting the commanded center, deviating from the core truth. That spiritual wandering, that refusal to stay centered, resulted in fragmentation and loss.
So israf as a withholding of adherence, a deviation from the divine center. That makes sense within his framework.
It's a powerful example of how he connects seemingly unrelated verses through his core concepts.
Okay, let's look at the next verse. This one sounds really interesting too. It's from Surah Taha, verse 127.
Right.
Translating to, "And thus we recompense him who committed israf and did not believe in the signs of his Lord. And the punishment of the hereafter is more severe and more lasting."
Now, on the surface, you could easily read this through the old lens. Someone who did excessive sins and disbelieved gets punished.
Seems straightforward enough that way.
But Dr. Waleed, again through Almighty Covenant, argues this verse aligns perfectly with his withholding definition. He says, "He who committed israf." Here is specifically, he who prevented the utensilite. Is castron.
Prevented the utensil or aid, like basic necessities.
That, yes, but crucially, he extends it. It also means preventing the light of truth from spreading, stopping people from learning, from being enlightened, obstructing the flow of beneficial knowledge, spiritual guidance, practical help things God intended to be shared.
So their israf was blocking the signs of God, both materially and intellectually.
Precisely. Their lack of faith manifested as hindering understanding, preventing them from fulfilling their duty to spread knowledge and aid. They withheld the light,
And the severe punishment makes sense then, if withholding truth and aid is seen as such a grave offense.
Exactly. Through this lens from Almighty Covenant, the severity reflects the seriousness of obstructing divine guidance and societal well-being. It's not just about personal excess. It's about actively harming the community's spiritual and material progress by being stingy with God's blessings.
That really reframes the responsibility that comes with knowledge or resources, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Okay, one more verse, and this one is often seen as a beacon of hope. As Zumar, verse 53.
Ah, yes, a very well-known verse. Say, O my servants who have committed israf against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Indeed, it is He who is the forgiving, the merciful. Usually understood as hope for those who've sinned excessively. Right. Don't give up. God forgives.
That's the common understanding, yes. A message of boundless mercy for even the biggest sinners. But Dr. Waleed on Almighty Covenant offers a really profound and quite different reading here, too.
How does he reinterpret israf against themselves in this context?
He suggests God is giving glad tidings here specifically to those who have sacrificed excessively, appearing sorwaya conquest night, but without seeking knowledge for themselves, without nourishing their own souls with the light of knowledge God made available. Sacrificed excessively, like maybe through ritual or extreme asceticism, but without understanding.
Perhaps. Or maybe just blindly following traditions without engaging their own intellect. He describes them as people who received God's signs but stayed stuck in inherited ways. They devoured the heritage completely. He just consumed it whole, without critical thought, without deep investigation.
So they were committing israf against themselves by not seeking knowledge, by not nourishing their own understanding.
That's his interpretation.
Yeah.
They failed to grasp what he calls the satanic system of forgetting, the way truth gets obscured over time like silt in a river.
Right, the muddy water analogy.
And they missed the divine system of reproduction, that fresh spring of truth, always available to clarify things. So this israf is an intellectual and spiritual negligence towards oneself, a lack of inquiry, clinging to old ways even when new light appears.
And God's mercy extends even to that kind of self-inflicted ignorance.
Yes. According to Dr. Waleed's reading on Almighty Covenant, the mercy is so vast, it covers even those who neglect their own growth due to uncritical adherence to tradition. It's quite a nuanced view of mercy.
So, wrapping up israf, what's the big takeaway for us listening to this? Dr. Waleed, through Almighty Covenant, is really pushing us, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely is.
Pushing us to see israf not just as, spending too much, but as this deeper failure, a spiritual, intellectual stinginess, failing to share knowledge, failing to give aid, failing to seek and spread divine light.
It's a call to active engagement with truth, not just passively receiving it, or worse, hoarding it.
It makes you ask yourself, am I holding back not just money, but insight? Am I committing israf against myself by not seeking deeper understanding? It definitely transforms the concept.
It really does. From a simple misstep to a profound moral and intellectual issue.
Dissecting tabذير through Dr. Waleed's lens beyond squandering.
Okay, so we've seen how Dr. Waleed redefines israf as withholding. Now let's tackle the second concept, tabذير.
Right.
And again, the common idea is pretty clear, isn't it? Tabذير usually means squandering, wasteful spending, frittering things away without purpose. Like throwing money down the drain.
Yeah, thoughtless waste. Carelessness with resources.
But just like with israf, Dr. Khaled Waleed, writing as Fikr Khaled Waqlam Waleed on Almighty Covenant, he takes us much deeper. He uses that same linguistic methodology to uncover what he sees as a more subtle, perhaps more insidious form of waste.
Exactly. It's not just about finances. He challenges us to rethink how we manage all our energies, all our potential.
So how does he build this new meaning? Does he start with the root words again?
He does. Following his established method, he connects the verb gri, batara, which means to sow or to seed.
Okay, like planting seeds.
To the related verb badara, which means to initiate or to start something.
Badara, to seed, and badara, to initiate. Interesting connection.
He explains that her, seeds, represent anything God enables us to bring forth and use within a system. Think about farming. A farmer carefully selects seeds, preps the soil, plants them, waters them, puts in effort.
Right, all with a specific goal in mind, a harvest.
Exactly. It's a disciplined investment of energy and resources for a controlled, desired outcome. But what if the farmer just, randomly scattered seeds everywhere without preparing the ground, without any care?
That would be a total waste of seeds and effort. No control, probably no harvest.
Precisely. That scattering without discipline, that would be a kind of tabzir in the agricultural sense, wasting potential because the outcome isn't controlled.
Okay, so that's the seed part. What about badara, the initiating part?
Well, badara implies initiative, taking the first step. Dr. Waleed points out that someone who controls the beginning of the initiative is the initiator, the organizer, the one in charge.
So it highlights control and purpose right from the start.
Exactly. The linguistic link suggests that just like seeds need careful sowing and management for a good result, any initiative, any action, needs purposeful direction and control to be fruitful. This foundation, he details on Almighty Covenant, is crucial for understanding tabkir beyond just simple financial waste.
Okay, so linking seeding and initiating with the idea of control and purpose. Where does that lead him? What is tabdhir, according to Dr. Waleed?
Based on this foundation, he arrives at a really striking definition. Through Almighty Covenant, he defines tabdhir as the expenditure of anything that leaves us without controlling its moral outcome.
Without controlling its moral outcome. That's specific. So not just any outcome, but the moral one.
Yes. It's about any resource, energy, effort, intellect, money being spent in a way where we lose control over it and fall under pressure because we are unable to obtain a desired result in a disciplined and clear manner.
So it's uncontrolled spending, not just of money, but of anything, leading to an undisciplined, unproductive, or even morally negative result.
Exactly. A lack of foresight, a lack of management, a lack of discipline that makes our efforts either useless or potentially harmful instead of beneficial and aligned with good. It's a call for deep intentionality.
That's a much broader definition than just wasting cash. How does he support this with the Quran?
He offers Quranic evidence here too, interpreted through this new lens. Let's take Al-Isra, 26.
Okay, Al-Isra, verse 26. Which translates as, and give the relative his due, and the needy, and the traveler, and do not squander wastefully latuadir tabdior.
So give people their rights, but don't commit tabdir. Seems to fit the traditional idea of not being wasteful while being charitable.
Right, but Dr. Waleed explains God here is advising against undisciplined waste. It's not just if you spend, but how you spend, and crucially, what moral outcome that spending produces.
So give relatives and the needy their due, but do it purposefully, with a disciplined intention. Yes, ensure their rights are met, but not in a way that lacks discipline or control over the result. And he takes it further. He specifically warns against intellectual tabdir.
Intellectual tabdir, what does that mean?
He describes it as wasting, diminishing malicious energies within societies. Especially, he notes, when societies are trying to grow in goodness.
Wasting malicious energies.
Yeah.
Like focusing on negativity, or...
Think about it like this. A society spending huge amounts of intellectual energy, media focus, resources on, say, propaganda, spreading division, pursuing trivial distractions, or fueling pointless arguments.
Instead of focusing on real knowledge, justice, unity.
Exactly. That, Dr. Waleed argues on Almighty Covenant, is a profound form of intellectual tabdhir. Squandering collective potential on outcomes that are negative, uncontrolled, and not aligned with divine purpose. It leads to fragmentation, wasted effort, regret.
So it's about the strategic, purposeful use of all resources, including our collective thought and energy.
Precisely. Not just expending energy, but ensuring it's directed in a disciplined way towards a controlled, moral, beneficial outcome aligned with God's commands, not diverting it down harmful or useless paths.
That's a powerful warning about how societies can waste their potential. Okay, there's another verse about tabdir that sounds quite strong. Al-Isra, 27.
Yes, a very strong verse.
Indeed, the squanderers mubadhir and are brothers of the devil shayateen, and ever has Satan been to his Lord ungrateful. Wow, brothers of the devils. Traditionally, that's taken as a very harsh condemnation of wasteful spending, right?
It is, equating wastefulness with satanic behavior. But Dr. Waleed, interpreting through Almighty Covenant, reveals a layer that's more about information and energy than just money.
How so?
He emphasizes who the devils, or shayateen, are. He notes, devils are those who disbelieved, distinguishing them clearly from prophets. Therefore, he argues, the system of tabdir described here is primarily informational and energetic waste. Hike where I spread in Lucy.
Informational and energetic waste, like propaganda again, or spreading misinformation.
Exactly. He suggests this waste, this expenditure of energy and information by the devils is ultimately futile and self-destructive. It can only lead to their own regret and sorrow over their waste of lives and resources.
Why? What are they wasting this energy on?
According to Dr. Waleed on Almighty Covenant, this waste is specifically directed towards hindering God's religion and attempting to make people forget the luminous system of truth.
So they're spending energy trying to obscure the truth, create confusion, lead people astray.
Yes, crafting misinformation, creating distractions, trying to block the clear path. But Dr. Waleed assures it's ultimately wasted effort. People will eventually see the truth. The light can't be permanently hidden.
And this leads to the devil's regret, because their efforts were ultimately uncontrolled in outcome and morally wrong.
Precisely. Their tabthir is an active, misguided, undisciplined expenditure of energy aimed at obstructing truth, which inevitably fails and leads to their own loss and regret. It's self-defeating energetic waste.
Okay, this is a paradigm shift for tabthir too. Dr. Waleed, via Almighty Covenant, is saying it's not just carelessly throwing money away. It's much more about this insidious waste, the undisciplined spending of any energy, intellectual or otherwise.
That doesn't lead to a positive, controlled, divinely aligned outcome.
Right. It's about being effective stewards of everything we have, our thoughts, our actions, our influence, making sure our efforts actually build something good, something purposeful.
It really forces you to ask, where is my energy going? Is it disciplined? Is it contributing positively? Or am I just scattering seeds to the wind, committing tabthir without even realizing it?
Powerful stuff. So we have israf as withholding and tabthir as uncontrolled, undisciplined expenditure. How does Dr. Waleed bring these two redefined concepts together?
The new duality israf and tabthir redefined in the light of truth.
So we've journeyed through Dr. Khaled Waleed's really detailed reinterpretations. We've seen how he challenges the common ideas of israf and tabthir using his unique linguistic method, all detailed on Almighty Covenant.
Yeah, moving from extravagance to withholding for israf and from squandering money to undisciplined energy expenditure for tabthir.
Exactly. Now, how does he connect these two redefined concepts? He presents them as a kind of new duality, right? Tying them together in a final, encompassing way.
He does. In his conclusion, drawing from all the analysis on Almighty Covenant, he synthesizes everything to give these powerful final definitions that capture the essence of his findings.
Okay, let's hear them. How does he define israf in this final synthesis?
He defines israf as chayr sekran ustantanismo fliokir, chachino.
Okay, that's a dense phrase. Shirka ruhani al-madi al-malmuz lil-dunub al-muharama. Can you break that down?
Let's try. Shirk is associating partners with God, the opposite of pure monotheism. Ruhani is spiritual. Madi is material. Valmus is tangible, something you can touch or feel. Dunub al-muharama are forbidden sins.
So, spiritual material shirk involving tangible, forbidden sins.
That's the core of it. Think back to the idea of withholding. By tangibly holding back material blessings, wealth, aid, or critically, the light of knowledge, which is also a kind of provision from God.
You're prioritizing your own possession, your ego maybe, over God's command to share and let his blessings flow.
Exactly. It becomes a tangible act of misdirection, a material form of associating your own will or desires alongside God's command. You're actively withholding something concrete, deviating from the central truth. It neatly wraps up his idea of israf as withholding.
Okay, that makes sense within his framework. Tangible withholding is a form of shirk. Now, what about tabthir? How does he define that in this final duality?
For tabthir, he uses the phrase All
right, another complex one. Al-kufra nafsi at taki al-mamsuz lil kataya al-haram. Let's break that down too.
Okay, kufr is disbelief, often rejection of God. Nafsi relates to the self, the psyche. Taki relates to energy, from taka. Mamsuz implies something intangible, perhaps touched or influenced in a non-physical way. Kataya al-haram are forbidden errors or mistakes.
So, psychic energetic disbelief related to intangible forbidden errors.
That captures it. This definition ties directly into the uncontrolled expenditure idea. The disbelief here isn't necessarily outright rejection of God's existence, but maybe a practical disbelief manifesting as heedlessness, a lack of disciplined alignment with divine purpose in how you use your energy.
So the undisciplined spending of psychic or intellectual energy information, leading to intangible errors, negative outcomes that aren't necessarily concrete sins, but still forbidden mistakes.
Exactly. It's an internal energetic misalignment, a failure to control your output, leading to wasted potential and hindering the divine path. It manifests as intangible errors rather than the tangible withholding seen in israf.
Wow. So israf is tangible, material withholding, spiritual material shirk. And tabthir is intangible, energetic misdirection. Psychic energetic disbelief. That's a very structured duality.
It is. As presented on Almighty Covenant, it offers this holistic view. Both are fundamental deviations, but one is about holding back what should flow, and the other is about misdirecting what flows out.
And Dr. Waleed sees these definitions not just as his own interpretation, but as something more.
Yes, he describes them as a penetrating result of a new statement. ECS USA, he calls it a luminous statement. He says, Chef, that he believes God intended to reveal now in this day of life.
A new understanding meant for our time.
That seems to be his conviction. He emphasizes it's about publishing the light and the true message of light and freedom. He sees this understanding as empowering us, helping us identify and correct these deeper, maybe more subtle forms of error in ourselves and society.
Guiding us towards a life more aligned with God's wisdom by understanding these concepts more accurately.
That's the goal he presents, a call to awakening, really, moving beyond just surface readings.
And the way he gets there, his whole method that we discussed at the start, it really does force you to think critically, doesn't it?
Absolutely. His entire approach, detailed on Almighty Covenant, is a constant encouragement to question assumptions, to engage deeply and personally with the Quranic text.
He makes it very clear we shouldn't just blindly follow inherited traditions if they seem to clash with what he calls the eternal light of truth in the book itself.
Right. It's not about simply accepting his interpretation either, but about embracing the method of rigorous intellectual inquiry and spiritual discernment, striving for clarity yourself.
Like polishing that mirror to get the clearest reflection of the light.
A perfect way to put it. Outro.
Well, that was quite a journey. We've taken a really transformative deep dive, I think, into Dr. Khaled Waleed's powerful reinterpretations of Israf and Tebzir, all meticulously detailed from his channel, Almighty Covenant.
It's definitely a lot to process. His work offers a really compelling case for, well, re-examining some core concepts we might have taken for granted.
Using that fresh linguistic and conceptual lens, moving beyond maybe simpler traditional understandings towards something more nuanced, more impactful.
Yeah, a grasp of these terms that feels deeper somehow, more connected to our actions and intentions on multiple levels.
It really is a call to reconsider what we thought we knew, isn't it? And maybe embrace a more intentional understanding of how we live, how we interact with knowledge, resources, energy, our faith itself.
Which leads us to the final thought for you, our listener. This really raises some important questions, doesn't it?
Definitely.
If Israf, according to Dr. Waleed's work on Almighty Covenant, is truly about withholding and stinginess not just with money, but crucially with knowledge, with spiritual light, and if Tebzir is about that undisciplined, uncontrolled expenditure of any energy, intellectual or otherwise, without regard for the moral outcome, how might these new definitions actually cause you to rethink your own daily actions, your priorities, maybe even your spiritual practices?
How might recognizing these more subtle forms, what he calls spiritual material shirk for Israf, and psychic energetic disbelief for Tebzir, how might that reshape your own journey towards growth, towards understanding?
It's a profound challenge. This new light from Dr. Waleed really encourages us, maybe even compels us, to look at our lives through a truly different lens.
The lens that demands both that intellectual rigor we talked about, but also some deep, heartfelt introspection.
Asking ourselves honestly, what am I truly giving? What am I potentially withholding? And how am I really spending my precious energy, my resources, my focus in this life? Are my actions disciplined and purposeful?
Lots to reflect on there. A really thought-provoking exploration.
أنا دكتور خالد وليد ربان سفينة النجاة إلى شواطئ بكة القدس. I am Dr. Khaled Waleed, the captain of the ship of salvation to the shores of Baka, Jerusalem.